All right, hey WIIT 88.9 FM Chicago. This is Sam, one of your DJs here. I'm here today with brothers Tom and Dave of WIIT Radio.
That's right, what's up?
Hello.
Thanks so much, guys, for coming out today to do an interview with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. So they just came out with their first album last November, and it's called Barriers. So we're super excited about that. And we're just going to kind of talk to them today. They're a pretty new band around here in Chicago. We're going to kind of see what they're about. So super stoked to be talking to you guys today.
Cool.
So for starters, I did say you're brothers, but where did you guys kind of get your musical interest, and how did that kind of start early on?
My parents actually met each other when they were younger. They played like the organ, keyboard, and all that stuff, and taught, and so I think that kind of like passed on to a different generation.
Yeah, our whole family does music, so yeah, that's kind of where it started. You know, when you're like listening to Elton John, when you should be going to bed for a kindergarten, kind of has an impact, you know.
Sure.
That's awesome. So is this your first band? Have you done other projects? Where are you guys at in your musical careers?
We had another band previously that we were in for a decent amount of years that we won't just mention because we try to all focus into like a new project. But yeah, all members of that pretty much were in it for a long haul and just made a decision to do different sounds, a whole new thing, and start fresh.
Nice. Yeah. So what is your inspiration for WIIT Radio style? Kind of what bands are you into that have kind of cultivated how you form your music and.
Yeah, we wanted to do something more like, on the electronic end of things, but with live drums, because a lot of times things are like processed beats kind of, which I do like, but like sometimes they'll be processed on the record, and then you go see them live and there will be like a real drummer playing them off. They'll either have them triggered or whatnot, but if you really do listen, there's not a lot of live cymbals and stuff going on, so we kind of have that with like bands like Young the Giant that we like, Fantagram, like Kasabian, like stuff like that. So it's like we've kind of, I don't want to say blended, like a little bit of like older rock with the newer sound, probably from the other band as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you still have like the rock influence, but you definitely have more like electronic influence as well.
Yes, exactly. I like bands. I'm sorry, can I swing this mic? I can't see your face. You're like, I can't see yours. You got glasses on, jerk. We're even.
I know. Yeah, we'll get to the glasses.
Yeah.
But like, have you seen that your style has evolved from your old band? Do you think that's kind of just because new music? We were talking back in the studio about there's a lot more electro-based, synth-based bands, and so do you think that's kind of changed? How you see the music you want to create, or you want to talk about that?
I think so often whenever anybody's doing anything in music, I think like certain bands, even maybe have garage bands or stuff, and you can't keep that sound forever because it's just you got to do different things. So I don't think it's so much that you try to do different things or change it, but it's just more of a natural progression into a different kind of sound.
Yeah, and when that other band was kind of, like about to die there, we were kind of like, I don't want to say almost excited, because there's something freeing about being able to start something new. When somebody's known who you were for like a decade, to all of a sudden change it up after we had, I think, 6 records with that band, then it was kind of like, I don't want to say pigeonholed, you hear that term all the time. You're really not, that's all in your head, but we didn't want to alienate a whole entire fan base when we just could have started fresh.
If you're trying to get in like different venues or play different things, and people know you from that name, you can't shake it. So like, even if you're trying to do something different, it's like, well, wait, you sound like that, so we can't book you. It was like, we're not like that anymore,
and the rebrand was kind of huge because we did a lot of bigger things without we got pretty close to popping off and it just didn't pop off. So when those people kind of they think your window's closed, so like we would headline bigger venues in the city and get on major festivals and get major radio, and when it wouldn't go to that next level, and it'd been a few years since then, they look at you like, I don't know, like a older actor or something where you're typecast. They're like, oh, we know what you guys are. So it was more fresh to start new, for sure.
Yeah. So your newest album, Barriers, just came out in November. How long were you guys working on that? What was it like to kind of watch that, be put on Spotify and on SoundCloud and everything?
It was like a long process, just a lot of things just like between just problems recording it, different circumstances, so there's like one of those things you took longer than you thought it would, but I think sometimes in the long run it's actually better because instead of being in a hurry, being in a rush, like we have our own recording stuff and all that stuff, so if you're not feeling it one day, if you're doing a drum track and having a stroke on the air, the drummer's dying.
I'm not hearing your CPR.
But you can come back the next day and just try it again. You're not under the pressure of the gun for hourly, paying hourly wages, or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I think that was pretty freeing, but it was like you said, everything that, and previous interviews we talked about this too, anything that could have went wrong went wrong. Like we had members of the band leave, we had other people like fight little demons, addiction, whatever. One guy went to jail, and personal stuff. I mean, I caught viral meningitis and spinal taps that leaked. Even we're getting this record out, I got rear-ended by a semi truck. Anything that you thought of could happen.
Yeah.
Went completely bananas, and everybody around us was exploding. So it was crazy. So it gave us a lot of material to work with.
Yeah.
But it definitely stretched that process out a little longer than I don't know. I would not like the next one to take that long, that's for sure. You know?
Yeah. Maybe half the time.
Half the time.
Yeah. And so what is the music making process like? I know you mentioned that, you know, it felt a lot more kind of, I don't know, just like casual because you weren't worried about like an exact timeline that some record had like thrown at you. So what was that part of it like?
It was, for me, I'll start, it was pretty freeing because I usually always start out with an acoustic and then I work out tracks, even if they're not going to be ultimately on acoustic. I usually just start with the guitar, and sometimes the vocals and the melodies come right away and sometimes they don't. But I usually have a pretty good filter where we've been obviously brothers forever and in a previous band for so long, where I filter all that out and I bring them the songs that I know are good, and then they might kick out a couple of the ones that aren't going to make it, but like I don't inundate them with like 50 tracks and be like, let's go through it as a band, because our kind of philosophy is if it needs a lot of work, it's usually just a garbage song.
Yeah.
And you know, like
that's true.
Yeah, I write one right away and I'm like, dude, this is it. There's some magic in it. And if you have to keep reworking and reworking and reworking, I'm usually like, that effort could be spent on a new song that has that magic. So usually I filter that out and then I bring it to Dave here, and then usually build the drum tracks, and then we start bringing in the synths and the arrangement, you know.
Yeah, I never wanted to be like a jam band, you know, anything like that, or like everybody let's get together and see what comes out of it. You know, it's like it just never was like that.
It's okay, but it's also kind of like live by the sword, die by the sword, and that's where I think it's like sometimes you can get too many chefs in the kitchen. Where it's like, what if there is no magic happening that day, and now it's like, well, your song that we just did, it didn't work and it sucks, so we're not going to do it. And it's like, well, there's a time to work on those tracks and then bring your idea to somebody. Otherwise, it's kind of like the equivalent of word vomit. It's like, just kind of wait until you've got a concise idea. If like you're asking us questions right now on the spot, so we're word vomiting it. But if you're like, hey, Tom, I need you to write 2 paragraphs on what it was like to make this record, all these details you're getting live right now, they would be probably
it's probably the equivalent if you're like, you know, a studio that's making a movie, you know, and you have a director that keeps coming to you, well, I did this, I did that, just change it, probably like just come back when you have the whole thing done. You know, like you have a nice solid piece of work that you want us to see what the script is. It's kind of the same kind of thing.
Okay, so you start with the vocals and then you move into like adding like the synth and the
guitar. And sometimes I can hear those melodies like while I'm writing the acoustic and the guitar. I'll work on a pretty tight arrangement with even the beats per minute down usually on the metronome. And then I bring them to Dave. And then Dave just takes time as far as working out the different parts of the songs. And then a lot of times I'll write counter melodies, even on the acoustic still. And then be like, hey, I play this on acoustic, but we're going to find a hot sound, and then we're going to go ahead and put this on synth or piano. I wrote a whole entire song on this last one. I think it was More Than This. And I was like, man, I was really proud of the chord progression. It had a ton of chords, but like one chord went to the next and the next. And I brought it to Dave, and he's like, yeah, that's cool, man. I like it. You know why? Because it sounds just like a Green Day track. And I was like, I like Green Day, but like I wasn't listening to them at the time. And it was kind of a coincidence. And he's like, it's not exact, but it's close. So what we did is we took it and put it on piano instead, and it broke it away. And then we built up the synth. So we had to do something to make it not sound so reminiscent, you know? Yeah,
I do feel like a lot of your songs are kind of a really interesting mix of kind of different styles and genres. So
thanks. I think it's trying to do something new, you know? It's kind of like, I shouldn't keep saying this because it's always going to come back to haunt me, but everyone keeps saying that since even the old band, that vocally I sound like David Bowie, and I don't, dude, he was cool, I like him.
Tommy Stardust.
Yeah, Tommy Stardust, that's my name. Sawdust. But I never tried to mimic him or anything, but in any kind of reviews we ever had, it was, dude, David Bowie, David Bowie, David Bowie.
And I can see that, like, your sound kind of has an older feel to it in the best way, and then converge that kind of with the new electro beat. It's a really cool
mix. And I think it's kind of, Dave and I were always into like bands that probably right now listeners don't even know because they're huge in Europe, but we're always into like the Kooks, Stereophonics, Kasabian.
Yeah.
And a lot of those, they enunciate in Europe a little different.
They do.
So I think that's where it might come from, is I make such a conscious effort to make sure everyone can hear every vowel of every word. So maybe that's why it sounds European.
Could be. That's true. That's actually really interesting.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of Phoenix. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they have like an older style, newer kind of tunes in the background. So that's pretty cool.
Big hit that they had on the car commercial?
Yeah, I can't
It's awesome. And it like jammed it all the time.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
it was like 19 something.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm terrible with the names for their
me
band.
Too much information.
Too much information. Too many good songs out there. I can't keep track. So you guys, like I said, are a newer band. So do you have any kind of prophecies, I guess, of where you see yourself in a year or 5 years? I mean, what's the ultimate goal? Do you want to become, on top of the billboards? Where you see?
I mean, I'll let Dave take over the rest of it because he had a really good theme. I think he'll speak a little bit more on it. One of our themes. The goal is obviously like ultimate, like I would say, success. Just being able to tour, make a living, just doing this.
Yeah.
That's always the goal. It's kind of almost like if you're not playing for a championship, why get in the game? Like I don't want to play a coffee shop. Some people do that, but Dave had a good response when we were asked that a couple of interviews ago, where it was like lowering the expectations because I think we put so much pressure on ourselves from previous bands.
You can only like control what you can control. So it's like as long as you're doing all the groundwork and doing what you can do, then it's like you'll see what happens, between, and usually that hard work it pays off.
I think it comes with age.
Sometimes.
Yeah, and it comes with age too. Sometimes we boxed for years, and it's kind of like, when you're younger, you're going to puff out your chest, talk a bunch of trash, and then for me, sometimes when I was younger, that would help me back that up, because I'm like, well, I've talked myself into a corner here, I must do something. As you get older, you're so confident with your skills and what you do, you're like, it's unnecessary. Like, let's just box. Or in this case, we're going to work as hard as we're going to work. So me telling everybody what our prophecy is kind of like, dude, I don't know. You can only control so much. Work as hard as you can, and sometimes that energy can be better spent.
There's so many artists too. I mean, there's so many artists that get discovered and they just by chance, they're not even looking for success, and they just get successful. And you're like, where'd this guy come from? And you just learn he was doing that before.
It's all absurd. It really is. Like, there's no way to. There's no mold for it. Yeah.
And when you're younger and you're grinding, sometimes you kind of like take exception and you get angry for no reason. And now I'm like, dude, good for them. Like, that's awesome. Like, I don't care if your music's horrible and like. Even if your music's horrible and you're like super famous, I used to be like, oh man, they're horrible, I can't get it. And now I'm like, dude, blame their fans, don't blame them. Because you would do the same exact thing. Like, if somebody's like, dude, your band sucks, your fan base is awesome though. Like, I wouldn't be like, you're right, I'm kind of just mailing this in. I'm going to take away all the success now and go back to doing what I was doing.
Yeah, and I feel like everyone just defines success differently, especially with music. It's like you said, I think if you're able to kind of support yourself and like do what you love all the time, then that's enough, to give you a satisfying career with it.
Even if you ultimately are trying to be like, the ones that stay forever are like the very rare minority. When you think about like over time, like how many bands that were huge and had maybe like 5 years time and you don't even think about them again. It's like they have their time and they come and go, they were huge, and then you just whatever happened to those guys, and you don't know what happened, you don't even hear from them.
And they might still be grinding, but that success is sometimes fleeting. I think if we were to pop off now, I'm glad we didn't pop off when we were like 14, 15 years old, because we weren't prepared to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would now. I would know how to, like, if we had a single pop off on here, I would know how to be like, okay, it's happening, like now we can control this, we can kind of know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And bring people in to help us, guide us, and we could make a career out of it where it wouldn't be left to chance,
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna ask too, do you guys do like other stuff on the side right now, or is the band kind of your full-time gig?
Go ahead.
We teach, so I play drums, he plays guitar, and then we also teach at a music studio and all that stuff too. So
nice.
And then we
actually one of the people that we know that goes here, Tom.
Shout out to Quinn. Yeah. So Quinn is always
Super
holding
cool.
it down. It's awesome. We've known Quinn for a long time.
Yeah. What Chicago neighborhood are you guys from? I'm just curious.
It's actually West Chicago, the suburb, which
Nice.
is actually the biggest, stupidest name for a suburb
West
I've
Chicago.
ever
I didn't
thought.
even-
Because
I
you
haven't
say
heard
West
of it.
Chicago, and everybody's like,
It's by like Wayne and St. Charles, so it's pretty far west,
Okay.
But Yeah, we always just play the city because we don't do covers, so
Yeah.
I can't handle that. I don't have my Bon Jovi wig yet. Right?
No, yeah.
Wait till I get like
No.
60, then I'll pop out the chest hair.
Yeah, so that's actually a good kind of way to move this conversation.
Yeah.
I was curious, what's the new, like, upcoming tour looking like? I know you guys have a show, I think, in Canada coming up, or if I saw that right on your website.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, are you guys planning to kind of?
We're gonna start popping off in the summer.
Okay.
Like because we're brand new, we got some stuff that's in play now. We're gonna start booking like I don't know, like late summer.
Nice.
But we want to do like this radio tour because everything is kind of like bombarded on social media. So like we kind of decided to do like a grassroots backdoor approach and be like, hey, let's hit the radio stations.
Yeah.
And through that now, the major radio stations are starting to kind of pick up a little bit. So we won't, I just think it's kind of tacky to say that we're getting played on another radio station on your radio station. But there's other bigger stations, FM stations, that now because we've been doing the college circuit and growing the base and the streams, now they're taking interest.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like the approach to take.
It's just so different now too. 'Cause, like obviously you're not putting up flyers all around town trying to get people to your shows. So with social media and all that stuff, it's a lot different. Even before it was play out as much as you can, play here, play there, and now half these venues are shutting down too because it's just the whole game's changed. So it's like how many people want to go to see live shows and how many bands actually want to drag all their equipment and go there and do it, and they can do live streams of something.
Yeah, and that's it. If you can rely on that base, like you have that base where like we're talking to some venues right now where it's like, hey, maybe we'll open up, be second on the bill, but like I think back in the day we would get thrown in an uncomfortable position where they'd be like, do we really like your record, your headline? And then we would have to like freak out and work to fill the place by any means necessary.
Yeah.
And that fan base can almost collapse on itself after a while because it's like you're trying to play out as much as you can in the city, but like you're kind of burning out your draw because you're not growing organically, if that makes sense.
I think like you have to make it like really nowadays, like because it's just how people are, to make a conscious effort. Like if you have a favorite band and you really like them and you want to go see them. Because it doesn't matter. Anything's on demand now. You have your favorite radio stations, and we do too, and podcasts with sports radio. I go home at night and I gotta listen to it because I'm busy during the day. Or you got your DVR with your favorite shows at night. Not everybody's tuning into that exact live moment anymore, so it's kind of a different game.
And because of that, I think like if you watch a lot of the festivals in the city, they're cover bands, man. And I like that. And sometimes like they had slots reserved for like certain street festivals where it was like more original bands back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's a little different. Like I don't know why you would book 4 cover bands back to back.
I don't know. That's so interesting.
Just have one play for 4 hours. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I've noticed that especially. I think Spotify helps because like I don't know. I always am looking at my bands and it does put when their shows are, but I miss concerts all the time because you're just so like out of tune with it. You're you're scrolling through your Discover Weekly or whatever suggested playlist Spotify has for you that week, and you just forget to even take notice of your band.
And which is funny because what you're saying right now, right? Everything's super accessible. You've got it at the tip of your fingers, but there's so much of it.
It's a data overload.
It's overload. You can't we're back in the day. You'd be like, oh, you pick up a magazine. Hey, dude, guess who's coming to town? And you go buy tickets, and it was like a slower pace.
Plus, I just think you have less bands to focus on. Maybe in the old days they had less bands to focus on at once, so it's easier to just kind of like focus in on them. Yeah,
there was a lot more of a filter, I think, because now it is so accessible.
Yeah.
Sometimes bands have been together 2 weeks, so like they're out there with you, like battling for eyes. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but like there used to be back in the day, like almost like gatekeepers, which is a good thing that some of those gatekeepers are not here now.
That's true.
But but there's always a give and take. Cause if you really grind it and like they would see you playing lower venues and they're like, okay, dude, they're ready, and they guide you up a little bit. Mm-hmm. Where now it's kind of like, 3 chords, you could take a YouTube video, and I have to try to cut through that now on the same platform.
The record labels it doesn't mean anything anymore, so it's like, you do this on your own, it's like, so why would they?
Billie Eilish did it all in her room, right? So
then you get the tour support. The only thing that's kind of nice about them is like the huge marketing budgets they have. They can get eyes on you really, really quick.
Right.
I'm not saying like that was always the thing when we were like younger with the bands, but dude, like, you're a record label, I'm like, I'll do that all day, man. Like, if somebody came in right now and was like, hey, man, we're going to sign you and put you on tour opening up for Fits and the Tantrums for 8 months,
Oh my God.
I'm not going to be like,
I'm fighting man, dude.
Right.
Like a coffee shop down the street.
Yeah.
I'm
You
keeping
can
it
be as
real.
punk as you want to be, but then when you start having bills when you get older, it's
Yeah,
cool,
exactly.
you know,
When
it's
you're
like-
when you're 15 years old, yeah, dude, fly that punk flag. But when you're like older
Right.
and you're still making sacrifices to keep your dream alive, like I don't want to see you compromise, but you never compromise the art.
Yeah.
But the delivery system,
Yeah.
you know, like sometimes you have to, you know.
Yeah. And I think people have a lot more focus on smaller bands than they did ever before because of, our
Yeah.
streaming services. Like, I pay as much attention to the Strokes as I do to the Shins, or like a really smaller band that has a way lower fan base. And I think that really helps,
Yeah,
for newer
yeah.
bands. Have you noticed that, like, marketing strategy-wise between your first band and this one, it's just, there's less focus on, I don't know, trying to be the biggest because you can still
Yeah, I think
draw
it's
in.
more like that. Because I think everybody's like, everybody was always like looking for the up and comers. Like everybody would look for like, that new band that's up and coming. Check out this track; they're going to be huge. And I think it's so like different now to try to find that. That I think it's more of a hunger in different ways for people to try to find these different kinds of bands that they can attach themselves to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and with the technology, like Dave was saying earlier, we have our own recording studio we have for years, and we even in the previous band, I think I did like the last 5 records. We engineered, mixed, produced them, did them all. So it's like to have that at your fingertips now. I think when you come with the quality,
Yeah.
you can get pretty close visually if you take your time to what a major label would put out. So that is like what you're saying. You can be on that even playing field because like, man,
Yeah.
these graphics look cool, and there's
Your album art is cool. Like,
Yeah,
it could be
exactly.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I like the name of your, album.
yeah, exactly.
It's different, yeah.
Logos, like
Yeah.
like if you really take that conscious effort, like that's kind of like I don't know, like how to say stuff being like cringy or like old school negative, but I think just because like you have the platform to speak, or in this instance like release music,
Yeah.
you should have, like we talked about earlier, that concise thought and product first.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had to present, I don't know, some kind of presentation for an internship at something that may be your job, you're not gonna walk in with it on like sticky notes and be like,
Right.
oh hey, what's up? Like,
Yeah.
my name's blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Let's get to it, and like drop of water, be like, let's go. They look at you like you were crazy. So like if you're doing art, it's kind of the same way. Like just have your package together, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, like the whole thing with like even the YouTube, because there's so many like kids we teach, it's like that same stuff. A lot of times they're not even exposed now to music, because a lot of times they're not listening to certain radio stations. Everybody gets their stuff differently.
Yeah.
It's like how you consume your drugs, kids. But I'm like, but like you have some kids, they'll go on YouTube and they'll come in and think they discovered something completely new, and it's something so old. I had some kid that wanted to learn like a lowrider, and I'm like, have you heard of this song? I'm like, I think everybody has,
Oh
but
my God.
congratulations, you just discovered it.
That's
but I'm
so
like, so I
funny.
mean, everybody gets it like
It's like,
different.
bro, we live in West Chicago. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's super interesting. And I think too, just because you have access to so much, if you don't have like the best, most compiled album, like looking and most
Yeah.
compiled looking album, then it'll just get swiped to the next, And so it's hard too, because you have to be visually appealing, or
And like even outside
whatever.
of things like services,
Yeah.
so like even like
Yeah.
with you, with Spotify, like I have Apple Music,
Right.
and like I've only had it for probably maybe like 4 months, but
Yeah.
you finally get where you look at it, and you're like, oh, it's like $8.99 a month. But then when you look at how much money
Oh,
the albums
yeah.
would you spend when you used to go to the record store, you
Yeah.
blow $10 here, $10 here in
Yeah.
a month. So it's like you look at it, and you're like,
See, I'm still so
All right.
old school. I buy all my albums on iTunes, so
Yeah.
the band gets the money, and I know I'm like the last Mohican. Like
I feel terrible. I feel so bad because I know that they're not getting that money, but like I just can't. It's so
Yeah.
easy to use,
And even for us, I mean, we get like and that's what's kind of the benefit.
I'd even buy our own album. I've listened to it on Apple Music, so it's
First thing I did when our album came out, first day I bought it on
Oh
iTunes.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
it's just
But yeah, it's
easy.
what I find kind of interesting is like the dichotomy in that. Even like they were saying, even though everyone has the ability to be connected now more than ever, most people are isolated and depressed, and they don't have social skills. And it's like you have that ability. It's kind of the same thing with the music. Like there's so much. I sometimes, if everyone's going left, I want to zigzag and go right. Like
Yeah.
so, we'll go to the radio stations.
Yeah.
We'll get those people that aren't in that. Maybe we'll only get 20% of them, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but that 20% is that niche group that you can grow a fan base from.
Yeah.
Instead of there's 1,000 voices in there,
That's true. Yeah, that's cool. All right, so your glasses have been blinking at me this whole time.
Yes.
So Tom over here is
Sorry.
wearing, no, it's awesome.
obnoxious, no?
He's wearing these super cool, I guess you'd call them like holographic, I don't know,
Yes.
LED glasses.
Weirdo.
And so, yeah, what's the deal with those?
Yeah, it's like
I'm sure you get this every interview. But.
Yeah, which is okay. Though. I think it was like from the last band. We've said on a few interviews, but obviously we'll keep saying it. It was I don't want to say how do I say this? I sound like a jerk, but I don't know. We had like a different look to us, like a little bit more clean cut.
Okay.
So
yeah.
like they would, even though we're like covered in tattoos and stuff, they would kind of times when they would review our album, like critics and stuff, would like write like 2 columns on how we were all about looks and we're pretty boys and this, that, and the other. And I was like, dude, like you're the one. I didn't like take like a album cover with a bow tie and my shirt off. Like, dude, you're the one that's commenting on that. No one's bringing it up.
Yeah.
Our bass player in the previous band was a good looking dude too, you know. So it's like they would go after that. For some weird reason. So when we were going to do this album and start all over, I told Dave here, I was like, dude, I'm kind of done with that.
Yeah.
And I want to take it out of the equation. I was like, I wonder if they make glasses that can put images on them. And he was like, if you thought of it, somebody's done it. So I looked them up and grabbed them. And now, at first I wasn't too sure about wearing them. And now it's kind of nice because when people see them, they automatically know who we are.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of by
it's
accident.
Unique, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't know about yourself, because obviously we're a little older, but it's like, I still like retaining my privacy in a world where everything is 24/7 available. Like, I'm not comfortable with telling people, you know, my workout routine and who I'm dating, and like, that's my stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like, or if I'm at a concert, like, let's say the 3 of us are at a concert, I want to know that I was there with you guys. I remember who bought the beer, and we're all sitting there watching this, taking it with our eyes instead of our phone.
Yeah.
And if you weren't there, it's almost like, well, then you missed out, man. That's our little secret memory.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I like that.
No, I feel that. I hate, there's nothing I hate more than a concert where there's someone in front of me or like even someone I'm there with who just records the whole damn show.
That ruins everything. The bands used to always have, like, you know, you'd have legit concerts filmed and all that. And then once everybody had their phones, what's the purpose of putting all this money and having a concert filmed? You can just look at it from your phone, so it's pointless.
Yeah, it really annoys me. But just kind of a caveat on the glasses, I think there's something really big to be said about kind of separating your physical appearance from your art. I think, like, I've seen that a lot in music. I think of Sia, I think of The Weeknd for a little bit.
Yeah.
The beginning of his career. And just,
we always usually talk about The Weeknd, how it was cool. The word I've been using too a lot is like how we wanted to inject some imagination back and stuff. Because, hey, like, if it is all about the music, like, then it should be all about the music, you know, like, and that's, other stuff's just kind of like frosting on the cupcake, but if that cupcake is disgusting, nobody wants it, you know, so like you said, Sia, we've heard that, Weeknd, Daft Punk, back in the day, you know, so.
That's
you couldn't do the rubber mask route, that was just, you know,
No, I don't like
slipping out of there.
I know. That's just too much work at that point.
Yeah.
Too much hassle. Yeah. And
Or the latex anyways.
I always think it's cool too. I mean, I'm assuming you wear those when you perform live or planning to, but I always think it's really interesting when I go to see a band live because I never, like, I only listen to them. And then when I see them live, you had no idea what they looked like, and it goes, you know, against everything you could have imagined.
Yeah, and even like the
so
format
strange.
we're on now, like, which I always enjoy is radio, right?
Yeah.
So like right now, they don't have any idea what you look like, but they're imagining based on your voice what you may look like, and that's kind of cool. And then cool. And then when they do meet you, they'll be like, oh, holy cow, either it was just like I pictured or it's not. But like they are like being creative right now, listen. Yeah. You know, I like that.
I like how music is just solely a kind of like how you interpret it. It has nothing to do with the physical side. Like, it shouldn't.
And it does when it gets to that major level, obviously. But you know, like when you're on the up and up, and if you're gonna try to let your music cut through, like I said, sometimes if there's like 100 people screaming in a hallway, I'm gonna walk through the library. Like, I want to take a different path to try to get maybe more attention to voices because there's too much going on.
Right. And it's just deterring them from actually like figuring out what the music is supposed to
there's a
be.
time I know a lot of bands before. You don't really see that much anymore either. But a lot of bands were. I remember trying to do soundtracks for movies. It was another avenue to try to get your music on a soundtrack, and then that's how some of those bands would explode. Where else and like, oh, this is how they got big, was they had a song from this movie and it was on the soundtrack, you know. So interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see as long as they keep making, you know, AAA batteries.
I think you'll be good for a little bit on those. I kind of wanted to mention one of the songs in the album as I was listening. a couple days back. I just thought one was pretty interesting. I'm from Southern California, so I was curious as to what the inspiration was behind your, I would say more psychedelic-ish, maybe like Pink Floyd-ish track, Letters to Southern California. So
this one's actually kind of a reveal. That's like it's a twist, plot twist. We had a member, it was a friend that was in our band, the previous project.
Okay.
And, we won't say what happened, but
Yeah.
under weird circumstances, he went to jail for a little while. So the Southern California is actually the name that the street is off of downtown.
Oh, okay.
For all you people that have never been in jail, like just informing you. I visited. We visited. And I wasn't
Yeah,
there.
that's fair.
But so what I did is I purposely kind of masked it.
Yeah.
It made it sound like I was talking about, Letters to South California, like
Yeah.
the state. But we used to write him every Sunday while he was locked up until he got out.
Yeah.
So that's, if you listen to the lyrics, it gives a little bit more of us just kind of like trying to tell him, hey man, it wasn't really his fault. We won't go into what happened.
Yeah.
He stood up for a family member that ended up lying to him.
Okay.
And he kind of caught the bad end of it. And they don't have a relationship anymore because of it. And we kind of felt bad because he was a really good guy.
Yeah.
And it was so far from his nature, you would never, like if he would have put us all in a lineup, no pun intended, and been like, point to the one that's going to go to jail, they would have been the last one.
Right.
He would have been the last person out of
Damn.
us. But yeah, so he did. And that's more of us just trying to tell him, hey man, everything will be okay when you get out. And then he got out. And then,
That's good. Well,
we got a new bass player. So we lied. I'm just kidding.
that's fair. But no, I do think it's interesting though that even though it's not about Southern California, I still feel like there's kind of that LA old vibe to it, at least from what I can tell. So it's kind of cool you did like a play on words.
I wanted to go a little bit more synthy. There's like
Yeah.
a couple of songs that inspired it. Like there's this band that we always liked called Stereophonics, and they had this album called like Language. I don't even know if I can say it on the air.
Yeah.
SEX. Violence Other.
Yeah.
And that it was one of the best records ever because they were so ahead of the time. They were like fusing these modern like synth patterns with rock music.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think like that song has that kind of inspiration from it.
Yeah.
How it's got like that floating synth in the
Dreamy.
back.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you get a lot of that out of those like beachy bands these days, at least.
Right.
Yeah, and then like guitars flip backwards and all that. I always like that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not like really ever consider myself like a guitar soloist, even though like it's like we talked about earlier, just because you can shouldn't mean you should. Like trust me, I can move my hands and shred when need be, but like I think sometimes 4 notes or 7 notes in the right spot hit somebody who's not a musician, which most of your audience is not a musician. So I think if you're kind of playing like for musicians and doing finger gymnastics, I think you're kind of misrepresenting unless that's who you're making music for. It's not really like a contest to see, just kind of listen and serve the song. And it takes time.
Yeah, and I think too, with all the different stuff you guys try out in your songs, you're just kind of trying to see what you can come up with in terms of like, does this sound good together? And you know,
it's a challenge.
A big mix of style, which is cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. All right, well, that is all the questions I have for you today.
Awesome.
So thanks so much for coming
Thank
out.
you for having us.
I'm going to play their whole album, Barriers, on the air right now. So definitely, buy it to support our artists and stream it if that's too much to ask.
Yeah, thank you for playing the whole thing.
Yeah,
sometimes
of course.
you get 1, 2, or 3 songs, but to play it front to back all the way through the album, I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I told you guys, I'm such an album listener. I think, I'm going to try to force everyone else to be too today.
Right.
So
Take
hopefully, we get some people to listen to the whole thing, and that'll be pretty cool. So let me just throw this up. But thanks for coming out again, guys.
Also, thank you.
Thank you for having us.